Om. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunattu Sah Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you so much. So let's start. All right, a quick point. Some of us have some queries during the course of the sessions. It may be answered, sometimes it is not answered. Asha has populated a particular sheet. I request each one of you to kind of use that sheet and put down all the queries that you have. The idea is that by the time we end TattvaBodha, we should be able to answer all the questions that we all have. Because sometimes certain questions may not be answered right now, the answers of which will lay as we go along. Therefore, it is important that we somewhere record those questions. Otherwise, it may remain unanswered. Is it okay for all of you? Just remind me, or maybe some of you can also bring this out during the session or in the end of the session, the benefit of all those who are joining. Okay, now let's start.
Now, up until now, we were looking at the evolutions of the organs of perception. That is the Gnanendriyas. Just as a recap of the whole thing, from the Sattvic aspect is where these Gnanendriyas are evolving. And just as a reminder to all of us, we are all talking about the subtle part of it. And the totality of all the Sattvic aspects is what we discussed as Antakarana. Now, as we know that there are also, apart from the Sattvic aspect, there is also the Rajasic aspect into the whole thing. And the complete formation is when all these elements are contributing or are a part of everything put together is what the formation happens. So now coming to the Rajasic aspect of the elements, whatever is there. As per the shloka, whatever we are going, it says, Vayur Rajasamshaha Panendriyani Sambhutaha. And Vahnir Rajasamshaha Padendriyani Sambhutaha. Jala Rajasamshaha Upastendriyani Sambhutaha. Going by the literal meaning of the shlokas, from the Rajasic aspect of the air, the hand, the organ of grasping has formed. And from the Rajasic aspect of the fire, the organ of movement, the leg has been formed. And from the Rajasic aspect of Jala, the genital organ has been formed. So here, the Karmendriyas are just an action or a doing faculty. It has nothing to do with knowing. It is like a response. It is that karma, whatever. That is why it is called Karmendriya. It's an action. Action evolved indriyas there. and Gnanendriyas are the knowing faculty. For example, the hand doesn't know. The hand only does an action. When you touch a hot object, or when the skin is which senses the hot or the cold, the action is taken by the hand. So this is the, go to the next slide, Bidan. So from the Rajasic aspect, now each of these 5 elements have taken the Sattvic aspect and come with one of the, one of the Gnanendriyas. Now, similarly, it is taking the Rajasic aspect, and also the Tanmatras of all these 5 elements are there, and it is forming a Karmendriya. For example, Akasha. The intrinsic or the Tanmatra property of that is sound, and the Gnanendriya of that is the ear, and the Karmendriya or the action is the speech. So that is where the family is getting formed. Now, coming to the next one, as per the shloka, what is there? Vayu. Vayu is touch. The intrinsic property of Vayu, or the Tanmatra of Vayu, is touch. And there comes the skin, and next comes the hand, which is a Karmendriya of this Panchabhutas. Now the next question comes with the Agni. Agni is Rupa. Agni comes with another thing of Rupa. So the Rupa, the Gnanendriya, is the eyes, and the Karmendriya is the legs, the action, where the action comes into the picture. Like how when I was also reading through these things, in the notes, actually, I got the answer from there. So the question comes as to, where does the eyes and the legs get related to? Okay. So very beautifully it has been explained that the moment you see some object or some obstacle that is coming, it is the eye that the action, the organ of perception, the eye, is what collects it and gives it to the organ of action, that is the Gnane Karmendriya, and that is where you move away from it or you move towards it. So that is where the question comes. Okay. So this is how the correlation and the family is formed. And each of these Panchabhutas will stick to their thing of action completely. Now we cannot, whatever it is, we cannot expect that I can see through my ears. It is not possible. They will only do their function of hearing, sound, and whatever it is there. Now the next question came to me as to, okay, when before somebody else, even we come up with this, the next I felt, okay, I'm talking about the Gnanendriya of eyes. What about a blind person? So then actually, I mean, in fact, I should be crediting this to my daughter. So where she actually came up with the thing that the manifestation or the organ of expression is not there. That is a sight. But the vision for the blind person is still there. That exists. The subtle vision still exists. So that is where these Panchabhutas are also playing that role of whatever has to be seen. So the next, similarly, the Jalatattva. Jala is taste, where we are talking about the intrinsic property of Jala is taste. And the organ of Gnanendriya is the tongue. And here we are talking about the genitals, which is the organ of Karmendriya. The Karmendriya organ is genitals here. So this is what is the flow of things. But here I actually have a small, there is a small discrepancy here. In the notes, somewhere, though the shloka reads, can we just go back to the previous slide? The shloka reads, the aspect of jalastha raja sattva upastitanendri sambhutam. Upastitan is the genital. But the explanation that in the notes, the explanation that he gives is, it is the Gudadwara. Gudadwara is the anus. though the shloka reads this one, the explanation that is giving, he is relating water to the anus part of it. And in some other place, it also relates the Prithvi to the anus. So this is where I have a little, in fact, I wanted to call Bidan, but I thought, okay, we'll have this discussion in the class itself. There is a no, contradicting thing in two different notes on this stuff, actually. Water is,
pitch in
yeah,
for a minute, Uma?
sorry?
Can I pitch in for a minute?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
I
definitely.
was also reading the same thing, Uma, today morning.
Mm.
But what my understanding came as how the genitals is related to water is that whatever, when you say genital, they are not taking the anus. Where I read, it said that the anus is the earth part. Because
Yeah, correct.
everything solid that is being sent out of the body is through anus. So that part is where the excretion comes is with the earth or the earthly element,
Yeah.
right? So when they say genitals, the other part that comes to thing is they say when you use these genitals to dispose all the liquid in your body, anything that comes out in this part of the genital, right, which is your urinary tract or
The rectum.
related
Okay. Yeah.
organ,
Yeah.
all those are in liquid form. So whatever
Yes.
is in your body in the form of water is flowing through this, which is why this part of the genital is related with water.
Yeah, correct.
Whether it
So
is
the
the semen,
procreation
whether
does
it is
not come into the picture
the
at all here, is it?
what I read, they said it was mostly anus to earth and
Yeah,
water to the genitals.
absolutely. I mean, even I completely agree with whatever you're trying to tell me, because I was also trying to relate it to the same analogy of the seven chakras. I don't want to complicate it, but I'm just wanting to tell that Muladhara and Swadhisthana, no, the earth and the next thing, no, it is again, it's the same thing. It is water again. So that thing I was trying to relate it to that. Okay, fine. Yeah. So this is what is, yeah.
No, Uma, I went through this Swami Aparajitananda's text on TattvaBodha, and he also said the same thing which Uma described, the same. Basically, it's like the flow of water is through the urinary tract and the earth. Yeah, it says the same thing. And there was no mention of procreation there.
Okay,
well.
yeah. But this procreation is there in the other notes. That's what it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing, my confusion came when in one of the notes, in the shloka, it reads it is the genitals. But the explanation, Jala, is again connect. The shloka itself gets changed there. The verse gets changed and it reads as Budadvara. I mean, to be specific, it is in page number 109 of Swami, yeah, one of the notes that we read that. So anyway, I mean, I think Uma cleared out the stuff over here. So these three are the Rajasic aspects of whatever the Rajasic formation of the element of Akasha, Vayu, Agni and Jala, forming the Karmendriyas and that family being formed. So I think the next one, Sonali will take up the last one, no?
I'm going to read it from my notes. It's written in English. Ete samasti Raj Sham Shaha Pancha Pranaha Sambhuta. So as it is Ete Shamse, of these total Rajasic aspect, the five pranas are evolved. So from the total Rajas or the Rajasic aspect of the five elements, when we describe five elements, it means the earth, water, fire, space, etc. The five pranas or the airs are evolved. Vidhan, can you go to the next slide? So as beautifully described by Uma, earlier that Pancha Karmendriyanis are generated from the Rajoguna of the Pancha Mahabhutas or the five elements. And we have also learned earlier that, the Panch Gyanendriyas are also generated from the Sattva Guna of Pancha Mahabhutas or the five elements. So technically speaking, we are saying that sense organs or the organs of knowledge are from the Sattvic aspect of the five elements, and the organs of action comes from the Rajasic aspects of the five elements. So now, what are the, so how does the Panch Prana comes into existence, right? So Vidhan, can you go to the next slide? So here I was also a little confused when I was reading the notes and it said totality of all the elements. I was wondering. So if you see in this slide, the totality of the 5 basic elements, air, water, space, earth, water, etc. From the totality of the Sattva Guna of these 5 elements, Antakarna gets evolved. Basically, the Mana, Buddhi, Ahankara and Chitta from the for the Gyanendriyas. Now, if similarly, Vidhan, can you go to the next slide, please? So similarly, from the totality of the 5 basic elements of Rajoguna, the Panch Pranas come into, the Panch Pranas are generated or comes into existence. So now what are the Panch Pranas? Panch Pranas are basically, Pranas is an energizing force. So all the actions that we are able to do or we are able to work is because the energy provided by these pranas. Right. So, so basically pranas give energy to hand or speech or legs or so on and so forth. So the panch pranas can be connected or are connected to pancha karmendriyanis. I think this is the gist of the shloka, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I was correct. Uma, Vidhan.
Absolutely. And that Panchapranas, what we are talking about are that Prana, Samana, Apana, Vyana, Udana, and
Udana. Yeah, those
So,
5 ones. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm basically looking for those pancha pranas. We have not mentioned it here, right?
So, no, I have not. No. The Panch Pranas are, I'll tell you, I have written it somewhere, not mentioned it there, but they are Pranas, Apana, Vyana, Samana, and Udana.
So can you just convert that in English for everybody's head?
So it is respiratory.
Then it is anyway being covered in my slide.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
No, let Sonali. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So it is the Panch Pranas are Prana, respiratory, Apana, excretory, Vyana, circulatory, Samana, digestive, and Udana, reversing. Now, I had my one doubt here when I was looking at Udana. So is it the reversing process when you say, it says the vomiting that, that comes out. And somewhere else I read that it's about the sense and the mind. So I was a little confused here on this aspect.
So Uma, you will be covering this?
No, I won't go into that. I will speak mostly about the tamasic. But if you wanted me to tell, when you say Udana, what my understanding is anything that you can't hold emotionally or physically, especially when you are speaking about the subtle body, it is about the energy that you hold within, right? So anything which you can't hold, maybe that needs to be destroyed or taken away. Right? When you look at it in the subtle aspect of things, this is what I can think of presently, because we are not talking about the Stula Sharira yet, it is the Sukshma Sharira. So that is where the excretion or the destruction comes in, which is the prana part of it.
Correct. So that's what it means, Sonali. So
Yeah,
there are
thank you.
various ways. For example, when something goes in your eyes, the tear starts automatically coming out of it. So that's part of Udana, right?
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
If you eat something which is not good for your body, the reversing system starts operating. When a person dies, there will be fluids which will be coming from various parts of their body. So Udana is another one of those pranas. So when a person dies, all this prana leaves the body. And Udana is the one which leaves the last. So each one of them will leave at a particular level. So Udana continues to be there. And then that is where you will see that excretion continues to happen, even if the body is called dead. But still the process continues. So Udana is basically the reversing system, which is a part of their entire energetic system. Panchapranas.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uma, you're on mute.
Sorry, thank you, Bidan. So thank you, Uma. Thank you, Sonali. You guys both spoke about the Rajasic aspect of it and the Sattvic aspect of the creation, right? So now the sloka is Panchikaranam Katham iti chet. So they are asking now, what is Panchikaran? So why is this talk even about Panchikarana coming up after the Sattvic aspect and the Rajasic aspect? Let's understand that a little more deep. Next slide, Vidhan, please. So it says, etesham pancha mahabhutana tamasamsha swarupam ekam bhutam vidha vibhajya. And I can't see that side. Me. Ekam pruthak vyavastha vyapara mardha chaturtha vibhajya sarvadharmeshu ardheshu स्वभागा चतुष्ट यंश योजनम कार्यम तदा पंचीकरणम भवति. Right? So if I go into a little more detail of that, can we go to the next slide, Vidhan? They are trying to explain the tamasic aspect here. So before I go to the tamasic aspect, I'll just go back to the learnings a little more to bring the flow into the tamasic aspect. So as we all know, there is Brahman, who is the eternal consciousness, and there is the Maya part of it, right? So when these two get together, then the Panchabhutanis are formed, which is space, air, water, fire, and earth. And all of these are in the Sukshma energy, Sukshma Sharira, right? So they all contain all the three aspects of Maya, which is Sattvic Guna, Rajasic Guna, and the Tamasic Guna. So Uma very beautifully explained how all the Sattvic Gunas come together and form 5 Jnanendriyas, which is the eyes, nose, skin, ears, and the tongue, right? And the organ that manages all this is the mind, which also has 4 aspects, which are Manas, Chitta, Buddhi, and Ahankara. So there the Sattvic aspect and their energies are explained and taken care of. Now comes the Rajasic aspect, and Sonali also beautifully explained that. From these 5 Rajasic aspects of all the Pancha Bhutanis, the Karmendriyas come in, which is the eyes, nose, skin, tongue, and the energies, right? So how are they managed? They are run by the Pancha Pranas, which are Prana, Apana, Vyana, Udhana, and Samana. So now these both energies are in the form of subtle energies.
Uma, just one doubt. So you said from the Rajasic nature, the 5 Karmendriyanis are formed, right?
Yeah.
I think what is in this is
Yeah. I realize now. I realize the legs and the other. I had to write the Karmendriyanis. I have maybe made a mistake there.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you for
problem.
pointing it out. Right? Yeah. Sorry about that. So the Karmendriyas are taken care of. Now we are coming to the tamasic aspect of it. What does the tamasic aspect of these pancha karmani or pancha bhutanis do? It creates the gross body. Now, why is this gross body so important? For this, let's just personify each energy and see what happens, right? Let us imagine a scientist. If he had all the knowledge in the world, and if he could really create so much and benefit the universe so much, but he could not do it because he had no way of expression. How would he feel? What would that energy be like? Can we even imagine? Similarly, let's take an athlete, right? They have all the energy to do everything that is needed to be done, but they have no way of expression. Again, that energy feels so challenging. When there is no form of expression, there is really no form of enjoying it. There is no form of feeling it. It is just energy and nothing more to it, right? So, but when the tamasic aspects come into it, and the tamasic aspect is so important because it has to accommodate the gnanendriyas and the karmendriyas and create a space for it where both of them can find an expression for themselves, right? So once, imagine the scientists finds a way to express all the knowledge he has. And the tamasic aspect of it is giving all the power to do whatever needs to be done for that knowledge to create things. How beautiful it is. And see what they created when they got together and formed a gross body. What a beautiful sky. Is there anything we can point out and say, this is not good? The running water. And of course, all this is at the universal level, right? That is what we are talking about. If the same thing we understand and bring it at the individual level, just imagine how it is. Right? So when they say Panchikaranam happens, that is when the gross body is created. How does this Panchikaranam happen at the universal level? Vidhan, can we go to the next slide? So we have the Panchabhutanis, the space, air, fire, water, and earth. So they all have parts of them. Until now, though each one has been doing their job, they are kind of having their individuality. Let's understand this like a person before marriage and after marriage, right? Even before marriage, he has responsibilities. He has certain things to take care of, but there is still a feeling of independence. There is still a way that he can do what he wants to do to the best. He is his pure form. But when after marriage happens, there are so many attachments that come in. There are so many responsibilities that come in, right? So when you say a housewife, you think about a person who is a daughter, who's a daughter-in-law, who is a mother, who is a working woman, all that. So much of responsibility, so much of identification, so much of growth as compared to she being a woman before marriage, right? So this is why it is so important to create that. So when we see the space, air, fire, water, and earth, so far before grossification, they all had their individuality and their style of expression. Now, when grossification has to happen and they need to find a way to come together and create something new, they understand that all the aspects are needed. I cannot be only my own form now. So how does that unification happen to create something new? Let's say this is the gross body of the space that is written below. So the half part of the space is split into two. Similarly, all other elements are split into two halves. One half is there as itself. The second half, again, is split into four more parts. So totally, if you see the circle, there is 1/8 part. Okay, so we take the half of the space and the 1/8 part of air, 1/8 part of fire, 1/8 part of water and earth to create the gross body of the space. Similarly, for air, it would be 50% of air and the 1/8% of all the others coming together. So this is called grossification, where there is a unification of all the Panchabhutanis in a particular pattern, in a particular mathematical way to create self-expression, to create universe. Right? So Bidhan, can we go to the next slide, please? So the difference, as I said, before the grossification, they were all tanmatras. They were in the purest form. After grossification, they are a mix of things. It's like unity in diversity, which makes it stronger. If I had to give another example, we could also take gold. Let's say gold in its own form, when it's a 24 karat gold, it's a lump, right? You can't really create anything out of it. It has its own properties. It's beautiful in itself, but it is still a lump. But then as soon as there is a few alloys mixed with it, just 2%, 22 karat gold and 2% of alloys that come in with it. It could be silver, it could be copper, whatever, nickel, whatever they add into it. And the minute that happens, it finds expression in so many beautiful designs, in so many beautiful ways. right? But please remember that we are talking about all this, though I'm giving examples of something very physical, all these are still at the subtle level or the universal level, right? So when these come together, there is a form of expression that happens, and that is the creation we see, which is the gross body. Similarly, in human beings, it is our body, physical body, or the Annamaya kosha and all the other koshas that are finding its expressions through the Gnanendriyas and the Karmendriyas. Right? This is why to find that expression so that creativity can move on, life can move on, there is grossification necessary, and which is what is explained here. Right? So next slide, Vedant, please. So this is how the 5 elements of the gross body are formed, which is sound, air, water, and space, and finally earth. Right? From there, all creations start. Yeah, that's about my explanation for this sloka. Thank you. Was it clear? Any doubts?
Uma, so in one line, if you want to say, what does the tamasic nature does?
The tamasic nature helps in the process of grossification. Okay. So if everything is in the form of energy, how do they find expression? So it has to have some kind of body to find that expression. It has to have some kind of arrangement through which it expresses, right? If you want to see the space, it should be visible for you to experience it. So the process of becoming from the Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira to the Sthula Sharira is what the grossification does. I'm sorry if I was not clear before.
Yeah.
No, you're clear actually.
So I
What you
was
told is
trying
very,
to.
actually what you told is very perfect. The space example that you gave, no? See, Sahana, I'll give you one right now example. You've heard of Chidambaram, right? The
Yeah.
place called Chidambaram.
Yeah.
That is the space actually. Is of the 5 elements, that's the place of space. But since you can't, it's very difficult for that unmanifested space to be formed, no? There is a Vigraha of Nataraja over there. The energy, if you talk of the Panchabhutas like earth, water, Jala, and Prithvi, the place of Chidambaram is a space actually.
Correct.
So until the grossification, until the thing happens, it's very difficult to, expression is very difficult.
Okay. See, where I was not able to draw connection is, like, if you say the sattva guna is nothing but the jnana shakti. So from the jnana shakti, the jnanendriyas evolved, right? And rajasic guna is nothing but the action, this thing. So from the
Kriya Shakti.
Kriya Shakti. From Kriya Shakti created the karmendriyas. So when you say tamasic, so it says inertia or resting. So I was trying to, draw connection.
This way, according to my understanding, Sahana.
Yeah.
Right. A ball is in rest until energy is given to it. Right. Until Gnanendriyas and Karmendriyas come into the form and form an expression, it is in a rested state. It is not creating, it is not grossifying, it is not in expression. Right? Does that make sense? So once the energy comes into the ball, that is when the expression happens or the movement of things happen. Until then, it is in rest. Right? So when these grossifications happen, when they all come together, and the energies of Gnanendriyas and the Karmendriyas also come in, it won't act on its own. That is why I said it has to make space for the Gnanendriyas and the Karmendriyas within itself. When that energy comes in, is when further creation will happen. This is my understanding. Didan, if you want to add more, anybody, if you want to add more or explain more.
Great. First of all, Uma, you had given a wonderful explanation. Thank you so much. That was very, very nicely good analogies that you brought in. Thank you. Thank you for putting it across.
Yeah.
So just to answer your point, Sahana, you are talking about Jnana Shakti, we're talking about Kriya Shakti. And when we are talking about tamasic or tamasic aspect, we are talking about Dravya Shakti. Let us understand what is Dravya Shakti. So Uma clearly said it's the ability to stay in a specific place, inertia.
Correct.
So let us take an example. Suppose you have a pen, right? The pen, if it has the Kriya Shakti, the subtle forces or those panch karmendriyas or panch pranas, so it will start writing by itself. If the car has Kriya Shakti, it will start moving by itself. Right? Thank God they don't have Kriya Shakti. Otherwise, you cannot hold them in one place. The reason you're able to hold them in one place is because it has a Dravya Shakti. So if you look at the universe, in the universe, the objects are formed. The objects are formed because there is Dravya Shakti. There is a Shakti that goes against the Kriya Shakti. Only then there it could be stationary. It could be in one place. Because if there is only Kriya Shakti and no Dravya Shakti, then there will be constant movement. And therefore, the tamasic part is what creates visible matter. Because visible matter gets created only when the Dravya Shakti or the ability to stay in one place comes into picture. In absence of tamasic or in absence of Dravya Shakti, there will be no formation of physical reality as Uma was explaining. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I think yes.
So, Vidhan, what you're saying is when we say tamasic Shakti, it should have the power to hold all the elements. And that power itself is tamasic in nature because it is holding and still allowing the unity and creation.
Yes. If there is no Dravya Shakti, then you will not have physical matter in place.
That made it a little more clear even for me. Thank you for your question, sir.
These are very interesting questions, and generally we should actually somewhere note it down. It's interesting and important. And we have to also understand that generally this word tamasic has been used in negative connotation. They say that you don't have too much of a tamasic food, or you basically have a tamasic attitude. Basically, they're sort of creating a possibility of or that you're becoming lazy. So the food that makes you lazy, or if you're becoming lazy, you sort of call that person or food as tamasic. But in actual sense, tamasic was never meant to be called lazy. It is the Dravya Shakti, the power of inertia, the power of holding something together, the power to rest in a specific place. Right, so all these three things are important. Sattvic aspect to know, Rajasic aspect to move, and Tamasic aspect to be in one place together.
So for
Question I have, Vidhan,
Hmm.
on the statement you just made about all of them being on the same plane. So, are we saying that there is no evolution that is needed from a tamasic temperament to Rajasic, where you go into more into karmas and then go into Sattvic. There is no, everything is at the same level, is what we are saying.
Okay, that's a nice question, Asha. Uh, the word Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic are very technical words used in TattvaBodha. It is not used to describe personalities. These words are used to express that Maya has three properties: Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. And because of these three properties, the entire universe was created. Now, somewhere we have juxtaposed this idea with respect to our qualities. So the point what you're asking is, doesn't it make sense to be a lot more aware? The answer is yes. But do you want to call being aware as being sattvic? Is an individual call that we can take. Generally, being a lot more aware, a lot more knowledgeable, a lot more vigilant is considered to be sattvic. A lot more active, someone who is more active, someone who is doing a lot of work is considered to be Rajasic, and someone who is lazy is considered to be Tamasic. So these are the words which has been juxtaposed. The idea here, in essence, what you're saying, Asha, is correct. That we have to be a lot more aware. We have to be a lot more in action. And we should not necessarily allow our patterns to take over. We should not be in a state of inertia, a state of rest, where we are not challenging us. So in essence, what you said is right. But the words that we use could be, those are not technically made for expressing these three qualities of a human nature. Does it make sense?
Okay, because I had read something in Gita when I was reading before this, and I had encountered. So I still have to go back to those shlokas, and it is about the evolution of men, of how you have to kind of look at other gunas and how you kind of evolve further and all that. So I think I'll have to go back to my notes to refer that.
So I'm again trying to say the same thing, Asha, that it is important to sort of move from an inertia to being more aware. So that can be said that you have to become a more you have to become a more sattvic. But what I'm trying to say from the perspective of TattvaBodha, which is a very technical prakaranam, here the word sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic is used only to describe three properties of Maya and how the combination of these three properties, the entire universe is coming to picture. And the entire universe has all these three properties. In absence of any one of the property, the universe would have not been created in the way that we see it.
Okay.
Also, Asha, if I can add in, see, the whole idea of TattvaBodha we are learning here is to understand the creation. So the context is very different here. We are trying to understand the creation and how it happened, why it happened. So the same words in this context have a very different meaning, I guess. Right? Whereas if you take Gita, it is a more psychological explanation of what is happening and how it can be managed. So when he's talking about the same words, he's more towards self-actualization, right? So move towards knowing and doing from that space. So I think they are in two different contexts. That is why they are holding two different meanings.
Okay.
Completely agree what you are trying to tell. Yeah, what Uma told just now, it's the same word. As all the Sanskrit words with which you use it in one particular place.
Yeah.
Any more questions? I think we are done with the evolution of universe, and now we will move into Jivatma and Paramatma Aikyam, the oneness between everything, right? So, okay, so here is a point that I thought I will just mention to each one of you. that sometimes understanding this evolution of universe may look very complicated, right? Sometimes it may not seem very scientific. Sometimes you may not be able to wrap my words that how come two subtle or tanmatras come together to form a gross part of it. So there's a lot of intellectual complications that we will go through when we read this process of Panchikaran. Now, there are two ways we should basically look at this subject. The first is when we are talking about evolution, we have to understand that we are talking about an era which was 5,000, 10,000 years before the current point, right? Now, just imagine this, that till 100 years before, till maybe the time of Einstein, it was believed that universe is in a constant state. It always existed. This was the belief, just as good as 100 years ago, right? However, the Upanishads, which were written some 5,000, 7,000 years ago, they were very clear that universe originated. Universe was never in a steady state. Universe originated. And only recently have they come out with this idea that universe originated from a big bang. Just look at the context. Now you may ask that how did these ancient rishis know that universe originated? Because still 100 years ago, the science was talking about the steady state. So it is their intuitive ability to understand how the system works. Are you able to get the overall perspective? Then it was around 500 years ago when the word atom was created. Again, it was a Greek thing, right? Atomos. It was basically which was called as the smallest unit of any particle or of the matter, that it cannot be broken further. But if you look at our Upanishads, they are very clear that no, atom is not the smallest unit that forms a part of your sthula sharira. There exist sukshma sharira or tanmatras, which basically exist before the creation of sthula sharira. The subtle body basically led to the formation of gross bodies. And this is something which, and again, when was this told? Some 5,000, 7,000 years ago. And today we understand that atom is not the smallest part. It could be divided further. And when it comes to the quantum physics, they end up going to a different dimension altogether. So then you may ask that nobody had a microscope at that point of time to kind of call this out, right? How did they know? So they had an intuitive understanding of how the universe functions. So what is important for you all and for us is to appreciate how these ancient rishis understood the facts which is being explained today in a very scientific manner. Another example that I want to give it to you, when you have learned about the expression of 5 tanmatras that came from Maya, the first thing they said, from Maya came Akash, which goes to say that 5,000 or 7,000 years ago, it was very clear that there is something called ether, there is something called Akash. Until very recently, it was believed that space is vacuum. Only recently, they have understood that space is made up of a positive material which can bend, right? Space and time can bend. But this is again some 5 to 7,000 years ago, it was clearly stated that space is a positive aspect. How did they know? How did they know that Desh, which is space, Kala, which is time, came out of a point, which is what Big Bang is talking about. So the point I'm trying to again bring about is that what we need to appreciate is that these ancient rishis had a very intuitive understanding of how the universe got created. It may be somewhere you may not be able to scientifically verify it in today's terms. In some cases you may be, but that's not the idea. The idea is to appreciate this fact. Is it okay? Do we get this? So what are they trying to say? That there existed only Brahman, right? Brahman consciousness, which is nirguna, which is no gunas. But what you experience is so many gunas. So how can nirguna become so many gunas? So there has to be a separate aspect apart from Brahman. And that is where the origination of Maya comes into picture. That in Brahman exists a power to create. Just as if you look at a spider, the spider has the inherent potential to create a web, which comes from inside. So when Brahman is nirguna, then there has to be something which basically becomes this world. And that is where the Maya comes into the picture, which is called the inherent quality of, which is a power of Brahman. The Brahman and Maya put together is called Ishvara. That's again a very technical word, that this is Ishvara, Brahman along with the Maya, the ability to create the entire universe is called Ishvara. And those Mayas has three gunas. And those three gunas, so Maya, from Maya came Tanmatras, those subtle aspects, the subtle things that we spoke about, Akash, then we spoke about Vayu, Agni, Jala, Prithvi. We are talking about the subtle part, right? What is that subtle part? A very crude example to give you. Again, I basically read it from Swami Tadatmananda. He says the very crude way to look at is that when you look at an object, what you see is an object, but you do not see the spinning of atoms. You do not see the spinning of electron. What is electron? Nobody has ever seen an electron. Electron is a cloud, right? There is something very subtle about electrons. So electrons, protons, neutrons all come together to make this gross world. Similarly, there exists a subtle body. Those subtle body, through a process of panchikarana, which is becoming 5 times, 5, 5, 5, 25 times. So because the process of panchikarana becomes the gross universe that we are all experiencing today. So we need to try and understand the essence that they are talking about. Whether it is scientific, unscientific
How
is
many
not
times you were talking about? What is the
Panchikarana, so as Uma was explaining, if you look at it, that first of all, from Maya came 5 tanmatras, isn't it? Panchi means 5, right? From those 5 tanmatras, then again there was 5 parts, 1 50% and 4 12.5%.
Correct.
So again there was 5 parts which came together, and that 5 parts became grossified. With the 5 parts coming together, grossification happened. So you are seeing 5 coming every place, right? Panchikarana. So 5 times 5. So it kind of, so it basically 5 times, and therefore the grossification happened.
Right. Got it. Yeah.
1 half, 4 half, 1, and then this happens 5 times. For the entire, the gross universe was created. So this is how the rishis envisaged the creation of universe. And you will see there is a lot of similarity in terms of what science is finding it out today. So just appreciate the depth, the understanding, and the knowledge, the intuitive abilities they all had to talk about things which has been spoken in today's time. Right? I just thought I'll give you this perspective because a lot of time we kind of get into this, in that intellectual thing. Is it right? Does it make sense? Doesn't make sense? Does it? It's not about that. It's about understanding that this is, yeah. Right.
I just shared a small table on this process of grossification. In fact, I shared it to Bidhan's mail ID just now, which I found when I was reading it. I'll put it on the group, like how you were asking, what Uma told about the 1/8 part of it and half, like it's like 5 columns, like from where everything has come, 1/8 part, 1/8 part. I'll just share it on the group. It's a proper table. It's like a flow chart.
Perfect. So anything else? Yeah.
So next we would be reading about Ishvara. Is it? We are done with the Jiva, Jagat. Next is Ishvara. Is it?
So we have got to know about Jagat, how the entire universe came into picture. Tanmatras, then those subtle bodies that we spoke about, which is called Hiranyagarbha, and the physical body, which is called Virat.
Hmm.
Right. So now they are going to talk about what is similarity between your body and the universal body. And they'll talk about how both you and the universal body is one and the same. Right. And this is again an interesting part. Carl Sagan once said that we are just stardust. They said, I mean, if you listen to Swami Tadatmananda, he says that we are just stardust. And the fact is that the stars have to be exploded for the universe has to come into picture. And what is our Upanishad saying? Right? Asha, you only shared, right? That from the universal body came our bodies. Correct? So Upanishads are also saying the same thing, that we are all stardusts. I mean, how can be those ancient rishis can be so precise in what science is trying to figure out? That kind of amazes me sometimes. Perfect. Thank you so much. So we'll just do the yes.
Bidan, do you think you have to lay the foundation for the next next set of things, or should we go ahead? It's
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
we struggled a bit, like I mean, when I was explaining about this Jagat and introducing Maya, suddenly
No, it will be very easy.
people were not in, I mean, it was not that good. So we needed your help. So do we need help from you to lay some foundation to understand the
I
next
don't think so. In the following verses, you will need it.
Mm-hmm.
I knew this is something which is a little complicated. So if I jumped in, going forward, it would not.
Okay, yeah.
And if it is there, then we'll figure out a way to kind of answer this.
If it is there, he is always there.
Yeah, thank you.
सदाशिवसमारम्भम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तं वन्दे गुरुपरम्परम् ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदः पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति 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 Thank you.
Thank you, Uma, Bidan, and everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
See
you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bidan.
Thank you, everyone.